there is this weird thing where people equate being blunt with being deep, like sometimes the harsher that somebody speaks, the more insight that they must be dropping. Somebody says something that's a bit cutting and they do it with a flat expression, suddenly the room treats it like, oh, some kind of wisdom in that, and they feel like something amazing just got dispensed. Meanwhile, all that actually really happened is somebody said something mean and then skipped the part where where they thought about how to say it well. Problematic. Because here's the thing. Being harsh is not the same thing as being honest, right? And being honest isn't the same as being deep. There's a lot of blunt people that aren't actually offering more truth than anyone else. They're just offering less filter. There we go. And somehow, along the way of people's interactions and personalities, they started acting like a lack of filter is some kind of virtue. And the absence of tact automatically means that they've got some kind of insight. This is problematic in our, in our culture. I think that part of the reason that this seems to work so well socially is because bluntness feels risky, and risky behaviors tend to get rewarded, They get confused with bravery. What happens is somebody says a thing that everybody else was being too polite to say, and it hits different because nobody expected it. So it lands with this weight that feels more significant, even when the actual content wasn't that deep to begin with. It's more or less about what was said than the fact that just saying it out loud felt a little jarring, A lot of blunt people actually know this. Not all of them, but enough of them. They figured out that if you say something with enough confidence and zero hesitation, then people assume that you must know something that they don't. Confidence often gets read as competence, but is not the same thing. Bluntness gets read as clarity, when sometimes it's just somebody who's never really learned or cared to learn how to deliver something truthful without steamrolling over the person that's receiving it. And what's interesting is how selectively this gets applied too. Like a blunt person gets called a real one, especially when they're being blunt about somebody in the room that other people already agree with disliking or already agree with that perspective that the blunt person said. The same bluntness that is aimed at the person, it suddenly gets called unnecessary or mean, if it's not targeted at somebody that everybody agrees with that perception. You feel me? So even the credit that blunt people get is inconsistent, right? And it's based more on the target of their bluntness rather than actual honesty. I got the slide. I don't need it. I think also that bluntness gets a pass because it costs the speaker very little to be blunt, right? It's easy to be harsh when you're not the one that has to sit with how the words you said landed. The person that says the hard thing gets to walk away feeling like they've told the truth, while the person that receives it has to deal with the emotional weight of it. That is not depth. That is an uneven trade where one person gets credit while the other person absorbs the damage. And that's not cool. Real depth actually, it requires more than just, it requires a bit more effort than just bluntness, you know? Anybody can say something harsh without thinking about it. It takes a lot less skill to say something that is more honest, you know, in a way that actually lands with kindness or tact, you know, so that the other person doesn't shut down. And it respects both the truth and the person receiving it at the same time. It's a harder thing to pull off than just saying whatever comes to the mind at the moment and then pretending that it's authenticity. So I think that, yeah, blunt people tend to get too much credit because bluntness, it looks like courage on the surface. Excuse me. A lot of times it's just impatience or a lack of tact. A lack of tact. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes a blunt person is just enjoying the fact that they can elicit a reaction that comes from saying something sharp or mean. None of that actually makes a person wise. It just makes them loud. And occasionally that loudness and bluntness gets mistaken for insight. So I'm right about this. Yeah, I'm right about this.